Bienvenue, benvenuti, and welcome to Expatriotical, the podcast for expats, travelers, and other adventurous souls. I'm Chandra Alley, and after living as an expat with my husband and 4 children in 2 different countries for 6 years, I've learned the art of pivoting during pitfalls, traveling tastefully for less, and soaking in amazing new cultures without losing your own. Join me as we dive into the joys and challenges of travel and the expat life in every episode. Oh, hello, everyone. I'm apparently feeling a little bit Mrs. Doubtfire-ish, and oddly enough, rediscovering yourself / transitioning to a new career is what we are talking about today. For everyone that is familiar with that film, you will get the reference, and if you aren't familiar with the 1990s Robin Williams classic, please watch it. It is so good. Like the movie, when you become an expat partner, as my guest refers to it, or as we are familiar with here at Expatriotical, the term C.I.P. or completely irreplaceable partner, you may have to leave your job. And if you are not already someone who can work completely online and in any time zone, you may find yourself wondering, who am I now? What can I do? Who should I be now? And like the movie, there can be a lot of excitement around this and lightheartedness as you rediscover passions and things that make you light up, but also fear, uncertainty, and maybe even sadness for a life you had always imagined, but now has been left behind. My guest today is an expert at helping you rediscover your new career if you need one, and has done that herself multiple times. I'm super excited for you to hear this interview, so without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, everybody, I'm very excited about today's guest. Her name is Shannon MacDonald, and I can't wait to dive in today's topic with her. But first, welcome, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. And I was hoping that before we kind of get into the whole reason why you're here, could you tell us a bit about yourself, such as where are you from, what life looks like for you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I just want to say I love your podcast, and I'm just excited to talk about all things expat life. So I am originally from Canada, but I was actually born a little expat baby to Canadian parents who were living in Germany.
Okay.
And so I am now living in Houston, Texas, but in between being born in Germany and ending up here in Houston, I've lived in, I think, this is maybe my 7th country now.
Amazing.
So I'm what I call a serial expat.
There you go. I love that. So now can you tell us a little bit about your family dynamic? Or, because I already know there is a family dynamic, but for those that are listening, Can you tell us about your family dynamic, please?
Yeah, of course. So I have my husband, and he's the reason that I've been moving overseas since 2010 for his job.
Okay.
And then we have 2 little girls. We have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Okay, fantastic. And I also have to mention that I have met you through our mutual friend, Mallory. And thank you so much, Mallory, for connecting us, because I know you're going to listen to this. So we can all actually say thank you to Mallory. And as we continue, like with all the train of thought of being an expat and moving, you started, if I remember correctly, with becoming an expat in 2010. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so let's see if I can actually remember. I won't remember the order right, but I think you said Scotland, Paris, which is where I currently am. We also share a common bond of you lived in Milan for a small bit, such as I did. Let's see, Cape Town, Dubai, and now Houston. Did I get them all right?
Yes, you got them all. Well done.
Okay, so I really wanted people to hear that because I was thinking to myself as I wrote down the questions that I had for you, I thought, she's been on multiple continents. Like so far for me, it's been North America, born in Canada, grew up in America, and then sorry, I also have to add that born to American parents in Canada, grew up in America, and then lived in Europe basically now. But you have lived also in Africa, which is amazing, and the Middle East, which I'm not sure, is that considered the continent of Asia? Is the Middle East? I don't know. Yes,
it is. Yeah, you're correct.
Wow, 4 different continents. That's fantastic. And so, with all of the moving, I kind of also want us to, if you wouldn't mind telling us, when you went to university, what did you study?
Yeah, so I went first to university just at home. So I went to the University of Calgary, which was the city I was living in, lived at home with my parents, and I studied. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Which is funny because I'm not a lawyer now. I was at one point. So I studied a pre-law kind of program. So it was just a general arts degree with a focus on legal topics. It was called Law and Society. And then after my undergrad, I went to Queen's, which is in Kingston, Ontario, and I went to law school there.
Okay, wonderful. And I just wanted to get that out there because it kind of segues our conversation of as far as once you become an expat and it's you and it's for your partner, your spouse, your CIP, completely irreplaceable you are the completely irreplaceable partner, but your spouse is the quote unquote employed expat. So I wanted to put that out there because with all the moving, has there been any point in your life as an expat that you've been able to practice law?
I mean, I think that I could have technically, but my experience, I was working in litigation in Canada shortly before we left. And I didn't have many years under my belt. I'd only been working as a lawyer for a couple of years when we moved to Scotland. And when we moved, I looked into what it would take to get qualified to practice there in my area of practice. And basically, it would have taken about 2 years. And we didn't even end up being in Aberdeen for 2 years. So that would have been completely pointless. And then, I mean, it's something that I've always thought I could potentially go back to, but for various reasons, mostly lifestyle related and just this constant moving around, it didn't make sense to work as a lawyer. So I mean, I technically could have, and people do, but for me, it wasn't what was going to make sense.
It didn't end up being a practical choice for you, basically. Yeah. And so I say all that to say that a lot of people, as they become expats for the first time, they find themselves having to transition into at least initially not working, and whether it's because for me, for example, as people that have listened to Expatriotical know, I have in this country had to sign a waiver that I won't work here unless I pursue employment with a French company, and my French is not good enough for that. So there's that. And then maybe for other people, such as yourself, such as I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the interview from last weekend with my friend Teresa, where she's a nurse practitioner. That doesn't exist here. So you are left with this conundrum, especially if you want to work of, well, what do I do? And that is where you come in. And so you have a business called MacDonald Coaching. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you mentioned Teresa from last week, because I was listening to that episode thinking, oh my goodness, I relate so much. And this is, so many of my clients are in this position where they have this career that is not recognized where they are. And nurse practitioner is something that is unique to, I think, North America, maybe some other places, but and she obviously has so many wonderful skills and so much great experience. So I was listening to that thinking like, oh yeah, I totally get it. So yeah, with my coaching practice, I am really focused on expat partners. So that's the demographic that I just deeply connect with, since I have been one for 14 years and counting now. And I think just having conversations with expat partners throughout all of my years living overseas, that just really subconsciously led me into coaching. Because I would have these conversations with friends where we would just be really vulnerable and feel really frustrated with, okay, I'm here in this country and I can't work as, whatever my previous job was, or I'm here and I want to work, but I'm just having a hard time finding a job. I don't speak the language, or I'm here and I can't work because, like you said, there could be visa restrictions. And I know there are a number of countries where partners are just flat out not allowed to work.
Yeah.
So exactly. It's these conversations that I had with people over the years that really led me to develop this as my coaching niche. And so I work with expat partners in a few ways to just generally help with life and career while living abroad.
Thank you for sharing that, because another part, the second part of the question was like, was there a catalyst or was it like a cumulative thing? And there you go. It was cumulative, and just over time, it just built this in you. And so maybe, okay, you've said who this is for. Although we will talk maybe a little bit later about how it doesn't have to necessarily be just for expat partners. We can talk more about that. But basically, what are some objectives that you can help the people with? Like, obviously, well, let's just maybe ask if I come to you and I'm like, okay, I'm not working right now, what should I do? How can you help me as your client with that?
Yeah, so I think I help expat partners in sort of three major ways. And one of them is before, during, and after a relocation. So that's kind of the preliminary step. So we don't have to go into that one right now. But the second two are basically figuring out, first of all, is this a situation where you cannot or don't want to, for whatever reason, work? Or is this a situation where you legally can and you do want to work, but you need to figure out what that looks like? And so that's the first step. And sometimes people would come to me thinking, I want to work and I want to have a career. And actually through our sessions, they realize actually maybe they don't, maybe they want to do something else. So that's the first major step, is just really figuring out what it is that you want. But let's say, take the example of someone who wants to have a career. So as I'm sure you're aware, there are quite a few barriers that expat partners face, whether it's not recognizing their education, job searching in a foreign market, which I'm familiar with. And it's so frustrating when you don't have a network and connections and you're just blindly sending out CVs. So there's that. There's the fact that you might not be there for very long. So companies are not always so keen to hire someone when they don't see it being a long-term investment. Language barrier, cultural differences, all of these things. So that's something that we can work to overcome. But really for me, in this demographic, I see the key to overcoming a lot of these things as being creating a portable career that can go with you on the move. So if you are able to kind of take that power back and think, what is it that I really want to do? How can I utilize my skills, my experience, my values, my interests, and leverage that into something that's going to solve some kind of problem out there in the world. So
Go ahead. No. Please.
Yeah, and basically just, what problem can you solve? Once we spent a lot of time when we're working together just really figuring out, first of all, what my clients' values are, what their strengths are, what their skills are, and what their passions are. Because I find in this demographic also, most people if they want to work, they want it to be worth it, to take them away from often they have children, and to really invest in creating a career, they want it to be something that is purposeful. So that's the very first step, is finding out what is going to be a purposeful career or business that you can create, and then sort of packaging that up into what problem is out there, or what is the person or situation that you can support using these unique set of skills and interests and values.
I love that. I love that you are helping your clients to use their skills, their interests, values do work that matters. And that's fantastic. And so you mentioned something key, the word portable, which is actually part of a word in your program, the Expat Partner Portable Career Program. And if I, go on your website, we'll mention all of the details there, or I'll ask you the details there at the end. But what can I expect as far as the structure of this program?
Yeah, so this is my real labor of love. It's been a work in progress, just trying to figure out, what's the best way of getting people from A to Z. And so the program is a mix of independent work. So again, it's a lot of soul searching, a lot of time spent asking questions that you might have sort of been formulating, but never actually taken pen to paper and really thought long and hard about it. So that's, I think, one of the most important parts of the program is it's really giving my clients this dedicated space to focus on themselves and kind of forcing them to do it, because it's something that you often, as an expat partner, can put on the back burner and just feel that it's not as important. So that is kind of the major focus. And as for the structure of the program, there is, like I mentioned, sort of individual coursework, but it's not much, because I know people don't want to be spending hours and they're not going to. So it's very manageable, and it's also optional. You get the most out of the program if you do the outside work, but you don't have to. And then during the program, there are 5-hour-long coaching sessions with me. Okay. And they're structured around the work that's been done. There's a real flow to it. So there's stages. So some people are quite keen and want to schedule a call, every other week and stick to a program. Some people find that they need more time in one section or another. And I think taking time sometimes is great, because you need to let it ruminate. You need to talk about it with your friends and your family and really get to a point where you feel certain about what you're doing. So as for length of time, it really varies from client to client.
Great.
So and then I'm always available. Limit. No, there's no time limit. And I'm always available, and I encourage my clients. I don't know if this is always the best business practice, but I can be, contacted on WhatsApp and emailed, and I'm quite responsive. So you get that really dedicated communication as well.
And I also want to mention, because I had asked you when we met before, let's say you get to the 5th call and your client jumps into everything and then maybe hits a wall. And you had mentioned that there is definitely possibilities to purchase another call or 2 calls or whatever that you need to help continue your journey down this road.
Yeah, of course. And there's always, that's the thing. Sometimes once you're actually in it, there's something that comes up that it's unique to every client and their business. There might be something that comes up that just requires, an hour-long conversation to kind of work out the kinks and make sure that they're staying on track. And it's that accountability as well. So I do like to check in and just, see how things are going.
Awesome. That's great. As we were talking about this before, you had mentioned that this doesn't necessarily have to be, because I think sometimes the thought of starting a portable career, a portable business could be intimidating. But as you were saying to me, this doesn't have to be like a big career. This could be something that, again, matters, that's meaningful to you. You mentioned it could possibly be unpaid, or as you are working together, you had said that maybe it's having peace with not having a career. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that is a big one. And I think that one comes into play also for people who end up in a country where they're not allowed to work, because we are often so, our identity is so closely tied to our careers.
Yes.
And I feel that so strongly. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I identified always as someone who is going to be a lawyer, someone in law school, and then I was a lawyer. And then for years, people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "I used to be a lawyer." I was so stuck in that vision of myself. And I think a lot of people do get their self-esteem and confidence from their career. And so what happens when you're not working either in between jobs or not allowed to work is that you can lose so much confidence and identity and self-worth. And that's what I've seen happen, time and time again. So working with people in that situation, it looks completely different from my portable career program. It's more, how do you find value in your life? How do you find something that's purposeful when it's not paid employment? And how do you feel confident about yourself? And how do you maybe take your favorite skills that you like to use and channel that into something else, whether that is some kind of voluntary position, whether that's, learning a new language, studying, upskilling, whatever it is, but just continuing to develop yourself and having that piece it's very elusive to be able to think, okay, I'm not working now, and in the future I maybe will, and I can get back to that, and or maybe not, but just trying to separate your identity from your career.
That's really great. And you mentioning the personal development, can you kind of share you shared a story with me about somebody that whose wife, is I believe working with you in this vein of personal development. Can you kind of share about that for me?
So I think you're thinking of a story from my coaching mentor.
Oh, yes.
Is this the one? Yeah, yep. So I love this. This has really stuck with me. And he said to me that his wife had never wanted to work. She wanted to stay at home with the kids, and that was a choice that she made. But together they decided, okay, just because you're not working, it doesn't mean you're not developing yourself. And so every year they carve out some time for her to do something that is going towards her personal development. So whether it's some kind of retreat, whether it's some kind of course or something, it's just focusing on her and her personal development so that she feels like she's still growing as a person. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I think that so often the expat partner is not able to do that. Their needs are kind of pushed to the side in support of the, so-called, working partner who's supporting the family. And I think it's really important to recognize everything that expat partners contribute and to invest in them. And I think that that also, I mean, it's to the benefit of everyone for the expat partner to be happy. I mean, one of the major causes of failed expatriation is the family not being happy or the challenges faced by expat partners. So it's really to the benefit, I think, even of companies to invest in the expat partners, whether it's offering them career support or just any kind of support. And I think that's just the best situation for everyone.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think that when you, like you said, when you look at the broader picture of the family as a whole, whether that's a 2-person family or 4 or whatever, that everybody needs to be happy within it. And so the thought of somebody, if they're like, well, personal development, I don't know what I want to do, they can contact you and you can help to flesh that out a little bit. Like, actually I find that I'm interested in this, or this is something that they have here in the country that I have, and that these are steps forward to continue to grow and to, I don't know, just become more of who you are or who you're going to be, if you will. And I was thinking what you were talking about with the wife of your coaching mentor, that I wanted to mention there's so many, not just expat partners, because it's not just expats that listen to this podcast, but I was thinking to myself, this could be something great for retirees. Like they're retired, but now they've got all this time, and what do they do? Or stay-at-home moms who, such as myself, who put career on hold for a while and would like to get back into things, but it's okay, what do I do? And I just wanted to put that out there to you, as far as I'm assuming that these are all genres of people that can use your services, I guess is the word.
Yeah, that's actually so interesting. You mentioned retirees. I'd never thought of that, but that is exactly the demographic. And my dad actually just retired this year,
Oh,
so
wow.
that's yeah. I have that example to look at. Yeah, and I think that you're right. It doesn't necessarily have to be an expat partner to take part in this program. So many of the key elements would apply to anyone who's just looking for a purposeful career.
Exactly. But I, like you said, that is kind of the demographic that you have focused on, and you have so much experience. And I just have to say, you had shared with me that during your time as an expat, you kind of had two different things, one a business and one like an initiative. So you yourself, what you are coaching people to do, have done. Can you kind of tell us about the business that you started with the boxes? Can you tell me?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so this is, I mean, my CV is so crazy. It's like not linear at all. It's all these little bits of things that I've done. And so the boxes, it was called Busy Box. And I started this just when I had a really small child and just looking at all the toys that she had and what she most liked to play with. And it was all really these kind of simple, fine motor activities that she would go back to again and again, like a set of blocks. And so not all
Mm-hmm.
of these really like shiny, loud toys. So I created this box and there were three different age ranges. So it was basically from birth until age 3 and a bunch of really simple toys and then a corresponding activity manual that would go through all of these toys and a bunch of different ways that you can play with them and teach them while you're playing. It was really learning through play. So it was learning, colors and numbers and all these fine motor skills. And so it was such a labor of love. It was such a fun project. And yeah, and then I did that for a couple years in Dubai.
Okay.
But then it just got to the point where I know that I mentioned to you, I kind of intimidated myself and
Yeah.
thought if I'm going to scale this, I need so much more than what I have right now. I
Mm-hmm.
need to invest time and money that I just don't really have. And so I just kind of slowly let that one die out.
And I
But it was a
think
great experience anyway.
no, absolutely. And I think that all roads that we kind of go down can lead us to maybe something larger at the end. And
Yeah.
maybe that experience has led you to where you are now, where you're like, you know what, I want to help
Yeah.
people do what I did before. Maybe not specifically,
Hmm.
obviously, the busy boxes, but just that kind of idea where you can. I mean, you were currently at that time you were a stay at home mom, right?
Yes.
With your oldest. Okay, yeah. So stay at home mom wants to be engaged, be active, do something, and yeah, great. And an expat. So there's two different things mixed together, but
Yeah.
two different demographics that could play to. So I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody listening could be like, well, what kind of experience? She has lots of experience doing lots. Shannon has lots of experience doing lots of things. So I guess I have a couple more questions for you. One thing is, and I would just wanted you to expand on this. You had told me that one thing that you wanted people to know and come away with was camaraderie. Can you explain a little bit or talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I think that's honestly the biggest thing. And this is why I do what I do is that expat partners, or just, I mean, like you said, it doesn't have to be expat partners, anyone who's kind of searching at this stage in life, just to know that you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have these conversations with all of my friends and people that I would just meet in, baby groups. And there was this common thread of just feeling like as an expat partner, they'd lost part of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And just as the years went by, maybe not working for 2 years, then 3 years, then that kind of sense of anxiety and worry and wanting to do something, but knowing that you're going to be leaving, all of these concerns. And just for people to know that it's totally normal to feel that way.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think the biggest thing, even if you're not talking to a coach, just talking about it with other people is so cathartic, and that's the best thing to do. And that's, you know, how I ended up getting into coaching was, I think these conversations just led me to that, and to really want to help people in this demographic. But it really is just talking about it with someone, and realizing that it's normal.
It's normal. Exactly. I love it. Okay. So I have a couple of questions that I ask all of my guests on the podcast. Sure. So the first one is, what has been your favorite thing about being an expat?
It's hard to pick just one. Yes. I love being an expat. I think probably realizing how resourceful and adaptable I can be. Ooh. I mean, it's a whole new set of skills that you learn. And that's why I'm also so passionate about what I do. I think, okay, all of these expat partners, they've gained skills over the course of these travels and moves that are just so unique and so amazing. So I think that is probably the best. But also, I mean, the people. I've met so many amazing people as an expat that I would have never met otherwise. So I think, it's hard to pick one, but yep.
It is really difficult, but I love both of your answers. And what is a treasured memory that has happened during your time as an expat?
Again, so hard to pick just one. Sorry. There's been such amazing travel, and I've made, lifelong friends that are like family. But I think whenever I think back to sort of like expat life, this one day really comes to mind. And it was when we were getting ready to leave Cape Town and move to Dubai. And it's that feeling that I've had now so many times of being so sad to leave a place and knowing that I'm leaving a little piece of my heart there, but yet feeling excitement for the next step. And it's those mixed emotions. And I remember going down to the beach, which was just down the street from our house, with my husband, and we brought a bottle of our favorite South African wine and just sat like in this little rocky alcove at the beach and just kind of reminisced about what we'd done so far, and then kind of cheers to the future. And for some reason, that memory really, really stands out when I think of expat life. And then, just looking back, who knew that we'd end up being in Dubai for over 7 years, and then now we're in the US.
Wow. You know what? That is obviously have no idea what the beach looks like, but you paint a really beautiful picture, and I can see how very, very special that is, because those are Tinder moments right there, that transition from like leaving one place you've loved or grown to love, and then moving on to the next great adventure. That's really, really special. Thank you for sharing that. And then finally, are there any last thoughts, any words of wisdom, words of encouragement, or anything like that you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, that I think if you are an expat partner, you have more to offer than you probably realize. And you have gained these invaluable skills and experience, and you are important and worthy, and there is a path for you that you just maybe haven't uncovered yet. If you're feeling some of those, just wondering what to do next, or just not feeling amazing about where life is right now, there's just so much potential. And that it's also okay to feel, I wouldn't want to say ungrateful, because I know as expats, we all feel like, okay, we're so lucky to be in this situation, so we shouldn't complain. But it's okay to feel like things are not perfect, and to want to change them. So I think that's the biggest piece. It's okay.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that, because we are, I'm sitting here in Paris. I can't see the Eiffel Tower from my apartment, but and I feel very thankful, very blessed. But at the same time, there definitely has been, for years really, where you're like, there's more there. What is it? And I'm so excited that you have this business where you help people help them to be curious and find out what that thing is, even if it's just peace with being where you are. So could you tell us, Shannon, where can we find you online?
Yes. So I am MacDonald Coaching. It's MAC on Instagram, and also macdonaldcoaching.com is my website, and awesome. All my contact information is there. Yep.
Perfect. So we can just go to macdonaldcoaching.com and reach out with curiosity and just try to figure out what are the next steps, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and that's one thing I should mention is that with all of my clients, I offer a free discovery session. So that's where we just chat for 20 minutes and talk about what's going on and see if, coaching is right for them. So it's absolutely no pressure. And that's the first way to get in touch.
Well, I really love that because number one, time is valuable, and time, as more of business people would say, time is money. And so thank you for just giving so freely for people just to be able to meet with you and say, do you think you could help me, and kind of work through that with like an exploratory session. So that's really awesome. Shannon, this has been really wonderful. And I'm really hoping and praying, because I personally know a few people that could benefit from giving you a call, and just kind of exploring and seeing where next steps might lead. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us.
Thank you so much, Chandra. It's been great to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thank you. I just want to say, as a side note, to earlier in the interview, when Shannon and I were talking about the interview with Teresa, we were talking in real time. And that episode 33, actually aired a few weeks before this one. So if you are interested but confused and can't find it, go back to episode 33. A huge takeaway when I re-listened to this interview was just the fact that Shannon is there for her clients. She offers support and a listening ear as you work out the fulfilling but hard work of rediscovering who you can be professionally as you transition to being the C.I.P. expat. I also love to just put it out there that this is something that I personally just think is not only great for the C.I.P. expat, but also for many people that want to get back out there in the workforce, whether that be after years at home, such as a stay-at-home mom like myself, or maybe after finishing a first career and finding a fulfilling second career, or volunteer work or part-time gig as a retiree. Regardless of where you are in life, at home or abroad, Shannon can help to guide you in that transition. Once again, you can learn more about Shannon at her website, macdonaldcoaching.com, and you can also follow her on Instagram. Her handle is @MacDonaldCoaching. It may come as no surprise that Shannon and MacDonald Coaching, that's MAC Donald Coaching, is our built-in Shan Select of the week. But I do want to build on what she and I were talking about with our quote of the day. The quote comes from renowned author and world traveler Mark Twain, who said, "The two most important days in life are the day you are born and the day you find out why." And I think we are never too old to find purpose in life. I talk to my 90-year-old grandma every week, and it strikes me and delights me when she mentions that serving as a resident liaison in her assisted living facility, helping her neighbors and even the staff there, is what she truly feels God has purposed for her to do. I can speak from personal experience that she has had a life full of service, but I am glad that even in her golden years, she continues to find purpose. May we all do the same. That's it for this episode, everyone. I hope that you have enjoyed it. And if there is someone who, when you heard it, you thought of, maybe because they just need to hear this, or maybe because they could use a call with Shannon, would you please share this episode with them? Thank you so much, guys. Let's call it a wrap for today. I'll meet you back here again next week. And until then, this is Chandra Alley reminding you to live and travel in the know with Expatriotical.